In this exercise, I'm going to show you a few more powerful ways to create layers inside of Photoshop. Specifically, we're going to take an image set against one background, and we're going to move her into an entirely different background. I have open a couple of images. One's called seaandsky.jpg, the other one's called extractedmodel.psd, and they're both found inside the exercise files folder. Now you may recall from a few exercises back that we've already managed to select this woman with her hair intact using a combination of the color range and refine edge commands. And the results of those commands are found on this layer here. It's called extract. Go ahead and turn it on and select that layer and turn off the background layer so that we can see the transparency checkerboard in the background. Now the refine edge command automatically generated a layer mask. I'm going to demonstrate layer masks in more detail in an upcoming exercise, but basically what they do is they make certain portions of the layer transparent without actually deleting those pixels from the image. If you want to see what that layer mask looks like, you press the Alt key or the Option key on the Mac and click on that layer mask thumbnail there inside the Layers panel. So wherever we're seeing white inside the layer mask, those are opaque pixels in the layer. Wherever we see black, those are transparent pixels, and wherever we see gray, those are varying levels of translucency. To return to the image, just go ahead and click on the image thumbnail there in the Layers panel. All right, so let's say we want to move her against the other background. What we've been doing so far is going up to the Edit menu and choosing the Copy command. But in this case, the Copy command is dimmed, and that's because we don't have anything selected inside of this image. If we wanted to select the image, you'd go up to the Select menu and choose the All command, where you could press Control-A or Command-A on the Mac, and then you'd go ahead and copy the image. You'd switch to the other image window, and you'd go up to the Image menu and choose the Paste command. That doesn't do us any good, though, because it doesn't bring over the layer mask. It just brings over the image, and we'd have to reselect it, which would be ultimately pointless, because we don't need to do the same work twice inside Photoshop. So I'll press Control-Z or Command-Z on the Mac to undo that modification. Instead, what we need to do is perform a drag and drop, and let me show you how that works. I'll go ahead and switch back to the image of the model and press Control-D or Command-D on the Mac in order to deselect it. That's very important, by the way. Now, on the Mac, you'll have two floating independent windows. You just move them apart from each other so you can see the contents of both at the same time. Here on the PC, because we're working in this tabbed window interface, I have to go up to the Applications bar, click on the Arrange Documents icon, and switch to this option right there, 2 up. And that way, I'll see the extracted model on one side and the sea and sky on the other. Now I can go ahead and drag and drop the image from one background into the other. But I need to make sure first that I'm going to get both the image and its layer mask at the same time. And you do that by making sure that you see a little chain icon between the two thumbnails. That shows you that they're linked together. If you don't see it, I'll go ahead and click to turn it off. Then you just click in that space to turn it back on. Now I'd go ahead and grab my Move tool, and then I would drag the image from one image window and drop it into the other. Now, that doesn't really put the image where I want it to be. Sometimes this is a great way to work because the image appears exactly where you drop it. However, in our case, what we want to do is register the image exactly in place. So I'll press Control-Z or Command-Z on the Mac to undo that modification, return to the model image by clicking inside of it, and then perform that drag again, but before you drop, press and hold the Shift key, and then drop the image into place. If the images are exactly the same size as they are in our case, then the dropped image will exactly register into its new background. So in other words, the two images align. If the images are different sizes, then pressing the Shift key on a drop will go ahead and center the image inside of its background. All right, so that's a way to work. I'll go ahead and press Control-Z or Command-Z on the Mac again in order to undo that change. If you're working on a PC and you don't have this kind of real estate on screen, in our case it works just fine because both of the images are vertical on a horizontal screen. But let's say you're working with a couple of horizontal images and you just don't want to be able to see both at the same time. Here's what you do. Go back up to the Applications bar, click on that Arrange Documents icon, and switch back to Consolidate All. And notice that Photoshop has changed the order of the tabs. If you want to write things again, just go ahead and drag the left one to the right of the other, like so. And now let's go ahead and switch back to the extracted model image. And here's what you do. Again, this is specifically a PC trick, by the way. Using your Move tool, you go ahead and drag the image onto the tab of the other image window, and then wait a moment for that window to come to front, and then move your cursor back inside the image window. And in our case, because we want to center the image, you go ahead and press the Shift key and then drop it into place. All right, one more method that I want to show you here. So you're armed with a few different ways of working. That way you can pick and choose the best approach for a given job. I'll go ahead and press Control-Z, Command-Z on the Mac, and switch back to the model. Then go to the Layers panel. You have to have both images open once again for this to work. Right-click on an empty portion of the layer. And when I say empty portion, I mean somewhere above or below the layer name. Go ahead and right-click, and then choose the Duplicate Layer command. You'll get this dialog box that expects you to just go ahead and duplicate this layer inside the current composition. That's not what you want. You want to go ahead and change the document from extractedmodel.psd in this case to seeinsky.jpg, the other open image. You can go ahead and name that layer something different if you like, then click OK. Now, this may seem a little confusing because Photoshop doesn't automatically switch you to the other image. It just leaves you in the one you were in. So now you have to switch over to the other image file, and you will now see that Photoshop has followed your instructions and moved the extract layer against the background. I'm going to go ahead and press the F key a couple of times and zoom in just so we can see how beautifully these images merge together. Thanks to that work we had done using the color range and refined edge commands a few exercises ago, plus our ability to move a layer along with its layer mask intact from one image into a different background here inside Photoshop.